Hey friends, Peggy Hall here with the Healthy American Morning. It is Thursday, October 21st, 2021, and I'm so glad that you are here joining me with my tips and tools and strategies and techniques and solutions and remedies and resources to help you and me keep our head above the waves in these stormy seas of life. Goodness knows there are plenty of stormy seas. And I want to help you and me deal with this and stay more resilient. So whatever these evildoers are throwing at us, we can take care of. So I am trying to find where my chat is as well. My computer screen is showing this video a little differently. So let me see if I can fix this a little bit, because I'd like to see everybody. Oh, here we go. I can see everybody who's tuning in right now. Thank you also for that thumbs up button on the screen where you hit the like button. Some of you told me you have to minimize the chat on your phone in order to do so. And we've got Justin and John and Sarah and Deborah, valiant one, LJ from Colorado. And let's see, Deborah. All right, some of you are asking for help. That's this afternoon at 3 p.m. I'll tell you all about that. Thank you, everybody who joined me yesterday. We had a special show for our federal employees and government contractors, and the day before. Well, I do special shows every day. So if you want to hear all about the political issues and your employment issues, the moderators and our other friends that are on board will direct you to my religious exemption playlist. In fact, you could hop right over there if you want to get started right away. I have over 100 videos just on that alone. I've got videos about your rights, about legal issues, about your job, about the needle, but I don't want to talk about any of that this morning. Oh my gosh, I talk about that all day, every day for hours at a time. I need a break. How about you? I think you do too. That's why you're here. All right, friends, I have a word that I would like to bring from the sponsor of the show. And these are my friends over at Keto with Peggy. Let me share my screen and you can see that ketowithpeggy.com. I actually have a message that I want to share with you from my sponsors. And that is a study reveals some shocking facts about weight loss. And our friends over at the Cat Dog Cat Agency say that 49.1% of adults in the US are obese. Nearly half the country struggles with weight. How can that be? That's because the usual advice for weight loss doesn't always work. The secret isn't just to stay active or watch your diet. The secret is in ketowithpeggy.com. This product helped me lose weight quicker than anything I have ever tried, and routinely taking a few scoops has helped me melt fat, tone my muscles, and reduce cravings. I do love it. I take it every morning, and I highly recommend Keto with Peggy. Try it today yourself for 51% off by going here, keto, K-E-T-O, with Peggy.com. And I will also have the link for you in the description box below. Let's talk about you. And I want to stop sharing my screen. And I want to talk about times in your life when you have felt nervous, you felt maybe unprepared, and you felt that you were lacking in courage. I know that's a very common situation because many people come to me for my help to feel empowered and encouraged, and they ask for prayers and direction. And that is such a great way to do it, is to get support from others. And I want to give a big shout out to all of you wonderful healthy Americans that have been with me from the very beginning, those that are just hopping on board. And what you are doing is you are offering support for each other. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love my YouTube audience. I've got the best audience in social media. You are smart, savvy. I started adding sassy. How about that? And supportive. You support each other, you direct each other, you encourage each other. Look at that word, encourage. Encourage, to fill with courage. Now, what happens, I've noticed in our society, is often people are waiting to feel courageous before they take action. I'd like you to think about a time in your life when you and there's a book by this title, which is, it's an excellent book, by the way, and it's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I read this book back in the 1980s. Maybe it was the 1990s. I think it was written in the 1980s. And this book is part of what has helped shape my positive outlook on life. And of course, positive thinking is not enough. You need to take control of your thoughts. And if you want to choose a thought that is not positive, maybe there's a thought that is, you're reflecting back on things that you've done. Maybe you want to feel melancholy or even regretful. Those are thoughts that you can choose. I want to remind you that thoughts are in your control. And we are told in the Bible and in other books of wisdom that when we can control our thoughts, we can control our emotions. And the emotions can sometimes run away with us. And many people think of courage as an emotion, like I want to feel courageous. And I understand that. But I see courage as an action. I'm going to explain and reveal what that means to you in just a moment. Before we dive deeper, think about a time when you did feel fear, when you did feel unprepared, when you did feel maybe you weren't ready to take this action and you did it anyway. Regardless of the result, I'd like you to reflect on how you felt. Many people tell me that they feel empowered, that they feel grounded, that they feel that they get to know themselves better because they are able to take action without focusing solely on the result. When we just focus on the result, that can give us a feeling of trepidation in that we may not take the right action and we might have the wrong result. I'm going to take a peek at the comments here, and I would love to see what you've got going. All right. Okay. So, John Carlson says, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And K-Dog is getting the jog going, listening to Peggy. I love it. I think that's such a great way to do it. Yes, get the morning going. Sherry says it's a nice break in her day and that she is grateful for the positive words. Valerie's been watching a relaxing, uplifting video about camping. Oh my gosh, isn't it fun that some of these videos can just transport us to a more peaceful place? And Heidi's coming in from Washington State. And all right, I have not seen any comments about what I'm talking about, friends. Well, here's John says, a difference between a coward and a hero is one who runs from their fears and the other one faces them. So I do love this book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Even though I don't like that word fear, and I really avoid using that word, it would be a very rare occasion that anyone would ever hear me say the phrase, I'm afraid, or I'm worried. Those are not phrases that I choose to use in my life. And when I am veering toward using a phrase, I'm worried, I'm afraid, I catch myself and I think, can I frame that in a different way? So what I teach on this show is thinking about things in a new light. How can I look at things differently? How can I look at some of my situations as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to create courage? Because remember, courage is an action. So when you are concerned, I do use that word. I may say, I'm concerned about this, or I have a question about this, or I'm curious. That's another word that I'll use. I'm curious to see how this will turn out. To me, that's much more empowering than saying I'm worried or I'm afraid. You will hardly ever, if ever, hear me say that phrase. It's just not a place where I live. And you can take control of your thoughts and your words as well. So Rose says that her biggest challenge has been the process of standing up for her religious freedom, but she's thankful because it is helping her rely on and trust the Lord for everything. And that is such an important aspect of what we need to do. So my intention for today's talk is to think less about waiting to feel courageous until you take your action. The action itself will give you a feeling of empowerment and of courage. So that actually becomes the result of you taking action. I like to think back, and there was a time, I'm going to bring you back a long time ago when I was in grad school, and I got a B on one of my papers. I was doing my master's degree in international policy studies. I talked about this on yesterday's show where I lived in Monterey, and I worked for the federal government. I was an employee for the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, and I loved it. I absolutely loved being a research assistant for professors. I still love to research, as you know. My goal, you may agree with it or not, my goal was to get straight A's, a 4.0 grade point average with my master's degree program. I was just driven. That's just a part of my nature. And I'm going to be talking about your divine design, how God has created you in an upcoming series. But my nature is such that I do tend toward perfectionism. Let me know in a comment if anyone else has that streak of perfectionism. And I was so concerned about what other people thought about me at that age, in that stage of my life, in my early 20s. And I was concerned about what my professors thought about me. And maybe I wouldn't be good enough if I didn't get a 4.0 and straight A's. So I was feeling very concerned, very nervous about a meeting that I had with my professor. And I wanted to ask him, why did he give me a B on my paper when I fulfilled all of the requirements for the assignment? And I thought it was excellently written, and I had my footnotes and I had my bibliography, and I wanted to find out, where did I go wrong so that I could improve for the future? It wasn't even just to argue with him about I want an A. I really wanted to know, why was this not A work? Why was this B level work in his eyes? In his eyes, remember, it's his perspective. My perspective was different. I was riding my bike to class, to the school, and I was feeling concerned and I was feeling nervous about the outcome of this meeting. And I think even back then, I did not like to have my mind drift toward, I'm afraid, I'm nervous. Actually, I did say I was nervous, but I didn't say, I didn't say I was worried, and I didn't say I was afraid. I don't like those words for myself. I don't like to say I'm worried, because that's giving power to the future. So I want to be curious about the future. I'm curious as to how this is going to turn out. So here's what I did. As I'm riding my bicycle and I'm looking at this beautiful blue sky. Yes, back in the day, we had blue skies without all this stuff sprayed in the air, which I can actually see out my window, the lines. If you want to hear more about that, that's over at peggyhall.tv. I talk about uncensored topics on my private platform, ad-free, by the way. You can see all of these videos with the ads removed. And I have so much content there for you over at peggyhall.tv. So back in the day, you saw these beautiful blue skies. And there I was riding my bike, and the school is in Monterey, and you've got the beautiful coastline, and it's called the 17-mile drive, and it's right all along the beautiful scenery. And I'm riding my bike to school, and I looked at the ocean, and I looked at that blue sky, and I thought to myself, Peggy, regardless of the result, the sky will be blue, the ocean will be here. You will still be able to feel joy in your life, regardless of the result. I was the tender age of 23, and I had that epiphany that I knew that I could focus my attention on something beautiful and enjoyable and uplifting, regardless of the result of my action. I filled myself with these thoughts so that when I went into that meeting, I didn't put all my eggs in that basket. I didn't say, oh, if this meeting doesn't go the way I want it to, my life will be over. Well, my goal of getting the A's and the 4.0 will be over, but my life will not be over. I can still focus on the beautiful ocean and the blue sky, and my efforts. Nothing changes the work that I put into that paper, regardless of what the professor's view was or would be. I myself knew that I did my best on that paper. No one could take that away. So I was going into that situation feeling confident and calm as I could be, and empowered. And I went into that meeting knowing my heart and soul, knowing that I was going to speak from a place of truth. That is what I did at the tender age of 23. What do you think happened? Let me know in a comment below. What do you think was the result of that meeting with my professor? I went to ask about the grade and why he gave me a B instead of an A when I thought I had fulfilled all of the requirements at an excellent level. And I had A's in all of my classes for those semesters going forward. And what do you think happened with the result of that meeting? All right. Michael says these professors are wretched. You know, it is the professor's view is his view, just like my view is my view. These things are rarely objective. They are very subjective. It was a paper. And if I recall correctly, I do know what it was. I did a research paper, and it was all about the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. This is again back in the, that had been going on in the late 80s. And I think that's when it was, or maybe it was the mid 80s. Here's what I found out. And welcome to reality. Even back then, I had a conservative outlook on politics and on society. I believed in self-responsibility. I believed in limited government. And as I reread the paper, I realized that what the professor didn't like is he did not like my thesis that I was citing. I was writing from a conservative viewpoint, and he was liberal. I didn't even know the difference between conservative and liberal back in my early 20s. I thought there were just facts and fantasy, right? That here are the facts of what's going on, and here is the spin of what the government and the media is doing. But I actually didn't know about the great divide between liberal and conservative. And rereading my paper, I realized that it was from a conservative view. So I had my meeting and I asked him, I did not go in all belligerent and all of that. I said, I'm curious, and that's a really good word to use, everybody. I'm curious to find out where in my paper this is not A-level work. I have my bibliography, I have my thesis, it's researched, I have all of the footnotes, it's the length that you required, the language, you didn't make any comments about my language. Where can I improve? I'm curious to know how I can take this paper from a B to an A. Just as an aside, as an educator for 30 plus years, I do not believe in grades. I believe in comments, and I believe in giving feedback, and I believe in giving the student different opportunities to demonstrate their mastery of the concept. Some people may want to write a paper, others may want to give a presentation, others may want to build something or design something, or have interview someone else, or there's all different ways of demonstrating your knowledge. So right there, I bristle at the restriction of everybody having the same exact assignment. That is a way that I don't teach. And that method is something that I teach in Freedom Learning. If you're interested, we're having our next Freedom Learning session this afternoon at 4 p.m. That is a program that you invest in. It is a professional certificate program. You become a certified Freedom Learning educational specialist, and we tell you all about everything that you need to know about your kids having an alternative and a superior form of education when they are not in these public schools or even the private schools. So right off the bat, grades for me are too limiting. Why and who has the ability to say that you get an A and you get a B? I think it's limiting. I think it's harmful. I personally don't care for it. And with my students, I always gave them the opportunity to improve. So if I gave comments on something they did and there was an area where they could improve, Isn't that what they're there for? Is to learn how to get better? So why would you have one opportunity? That's it. Nope, you can't learn anymore. You got to be, that's it. You're done. That is strange to me anyway. So Nancy says that she had a situation like that and she had to carefully select her words, as I did, because you don't want to be confrontational and put the professor on the defensive. I'm surprised that I even knew that at the tender age of 23, 24 at that time, that I realized that I actually wanted to learn. I wanted to know where and how could I bring this work that I created up to the level that he determined was an A. Where did I go wrong, so to speak? So I left the paper with him and he said, well, let me share this part of the story too. Rather than say, well, I never change grades. He could have said that. He could have said, he could have said many things. What he said was, thank you for coming to discuss the paper. I'm glad that you're taking an interest in your education and in your ability to express your knowledge. How about that? He was very professional. And he said, leave the paper with me. I would like to read it again. And I said, that sounds fine. And this whole interaction had such an impact on me. This is decades ago. And I still remember clearly in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, in my spirit, riding my bike there saying, regardless of the outcome, I need to do this for me. I need to stand up for myself. I need to find out. I need to learn. I can't cower from the professor. I need to stand up and figure out how I can improve. And yes, a percentage of me wanted to make sure that I was going to get those straight A's. I agree. That was my ego. That was my own high level of perfectionism, a very high standard, which I still maintain to this day. And I recognize that as well, that maybe it really is a B level paper. And I'm just trying to get it to an A so I can continue my streak of straight A's. This was long before I realized that grades and all of that were not important. But what I took away from this experience was my own feeling of empowerment that no one, no professor, no grade on a paper can diminish my joy of life. That was the bottom line. I derived an enormous amount of joy from riding my bicycle outdoors, enjoying the fresh air, the blue sky, the blue ocean. And I thought, regardless of the result, I will still enjoy life. I will still look for areas that fill me with joy. I will not allow this limited situation to deplete my joy, my connection to life, my ability to choose to focus on things that I want to. That is what I took away from this experience. Now, I left my paper with the professor and I rode my bicycle back home and I thought, I thought I was going to be relieved at the end of this meeting. I thought I would know exactly the outcome. Now I have to wait a few days before I have his response. I still did not give in to worry. I did not give in to fear. It was the opposite. I continued to encourage myself because I felt courageous taking that action. I rode my bicycle home. I was on cloud 9. I actually didn't focus on the result of that meeting and the outcome of that grade, whether it would be changed or not. I felt so powerful because I took the action. That, my friends, is courage. I rode my bicycle home feeling full of courage because I took action that supported my beliefs. I reaffirmed for myself over the next few days, the result isn't that important. What's important is that I stood up for myself. What is important is that I spoke my truth. What is important is that I actually asked for the professor's help. He was in a position of influence, and power over me because he determined the grades. And I asked him for his help so I could learn where in my paper I needed to improve in order to elevate it to that A level work that he was looking for. And that was sincere on my part. So I focused on curiosity and on learning and on knowledge. I want to learn. Did I not have enough sources? Were my footnotes out of order? Did I put too much of my own opinion and not enough of the experts, right? That's what they wanted, was that was probably the assignment. I don't recall all the exact details. I was curious. I did want to improve my ability. And if that was my best work and my best work was a B, I will live with it and I will improve it the next time. Those were the phrases and the messages that I gave myself. I actually felt on cloud 9 riding my bicycle home because I promised myself that after the meeting, I would gaze on the ocean. I would breathe in the fresh air, always focused on the breathing. That's always important to remind ourselves to breathe and relax and focus on what we want to focus on and enjoy what we want to enjoy. I could have left that worried. I could have let the fear and the worry strangle me, keep me up at night, give me worry lines and an upset stomach. I could have pinned all of my own value on this grade. My self-worth has nothing to do with a grade. Straight A's or no straight A's. I value myself as God's masterpiece, and so are you. And I know you are because God himself said so in the Bible. He created you as his poetry, his poema, his masterpiece, and he created you with the gifts and skills and talents for works that he decided for you to do before you were even born. Get a load of that. How could I deny God? How could I be, what is the word I'm searching for here, friends? How could I be worried and nervous and afraid of something that God gave me to do? He gave me the skills of researching and writing and teaching. That is what he created me to do. He created you for this time with your gifts and skills. So I felt elated. I felt relieved, and I felt empowered, encouraged, and I felt courageous. I felt confident. A 23-year-old going up against a professor, asking why I got a B instead of an A. All right, let me get to the punchline now. So a couple of days later in class, he, or maybe I had a second appointment. The details are a little bit blurry because it was so many years ago, but we had a second meeting and he said, I read your paper again and I looked at all of your footnotes and the resources and your thesis and the length of the paper and your arguments. And he said, you're right. It is an A level paper and I'm changing your grade. It actually was a B plus. That's what he gave me. Don't you hate that B plus? It's like, wait a minute, why is it not an A minus? And he may have given me an A or an A minus. I need to look and see if I still have that paper. And I'll tell you what, my lovely healthy Americans, I was happy. I was relieved that I got the A, but it was not as important to me as what I myself had done. I have no control over what he does. I, Peggy Hall, would have zero control over what anyone else does. And the same is for you. You can be prepared, you can be empowered, you can feel courage, you can be ready to go, but nothing you do can control what someone else does. They alone are going to be taking the action that they see fit. So even though he did change the grade of the paper, and even though I did graduate with straight A's and a 4.0, and I was the number one in my class, those things were not as important to me as me standing up for myself, taking responsibility, taking action. And that experience probably, well, since I'm talking about it now, it definitely was a bellwether experience, meaning it was one of the most important experiences of my early life that gave me the knowledge and the courage, because courage is an action, to go forth in my life. And that is what has informed me going forward. It could have turned out differently. I could have said, well, I got a B. I guess it wasn't good enough. The professor knows better than I do. I can't go ask the professor. He's the professor. I can't ask him. I could have done that. Or I could have gone in all belligerent and, how dare you? Who gives you the right to say that I only did a B? I could have done that too. Or I could have let fear and anxiety and worry take me over, and I could have not taken any action. So that is my story for you today, my personal story. I share a lot about my own personal life here on the Healthy American Morning Show, and I'm so glad that you are with me. Yes, come back at 3 p.m. I am going to be talking today about ridiculous questions that your employers ask. So if you have a ridiculous question that your employer is asking, be sure to share it this afternoon at 3 p.m. Peggy to the rescue. If you can't wait until then, watch the show I did yesterday for federal employees and government contractors, and watch the show I did the day before called Slimy Tactics that law firms are using to teach your employer to deny your religious exemption. And better yet, why don't you just watch the religious exemption playlist, because I have all of those answers for you. So time for you to roll up your sleeves and get to work. I've done it. I've recorded it for you. Now you can learn from it again and again. And people have told me that the Healthy American is their new Netflix. They don't watch Netflix at night. And that's my recommendation. If you are spending any time whatsoever watching other videos that are filling you with fear and the sky is falling, my view is that you could spend your time in a better way, learning about your rights and how to defend them rather than spinning in the spin cycle. So if you're spending time watching other programs, you have time to study from the Healthy American Peggy Hall. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you moderators, and appreciate everybody being on board. Thank you all for your likes and shares. And I will see you this afternoon right here, 3 p.m. Pacific. And thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you very soon.